So without further ado, I'm going to record this, the Groveland Study Committee meeting of April 8th, kicking off at 5:35.
Motion to open the meeting.
Motion to
Second.
open the meeting.
Second.
Second by Betty. And the two things I need to get off my chest right away, we have February 16th and March 8th minutes that have not been approved. So
Okay.
would anybody like to see them first? I can project them if you'd like, and we can read them.
I think I'm all set.
You all set? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So do I have a motion to approve the February 16th Groveland Study Committee meeting minutes?
Yes.
And that was John who made the motion.
I'll second John's motion.
Second by Betty. Any discussion? All in favor, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes here. So it's unanimous. John, Christopher, yes? Let's see. Okay, John, I can't hear you. You're muted. You must be, you need to, can't hear you. We can hear you talk. John, we can't hear you. Let me just go here. All right, so let me ask to unmute. Go ahead. Still can't hear you. You want to go to your computer, make sure that your volume is up and then can't hear you. Okay, ask to unmute. I'm going to unmute you. Yeah, you're still muted, John. Oh, boy.
Can John call in?
Well, if he calls in, I've got you on my phone. All right. So, Ruth,
Yeah.
why don't you give John your phone number? You want to send it to him by email? And he can call you and then we can hear him through your phone.
Let me launch I just restarted my computer to try to relaunch my Zoom because right now I'm on my phone with you.
Okay.
But it's okay. I should be able to do that in a second.
Okay. Not sure why John is still muted. Ask to unmute. I'm sending him a message to unmute.
What about when he dialed in? Did he dial in with,
Nah.
you know, it
Code.
Go ahead, John.
usually
Can you
says, do you
speak
want
now?
to dial in with audio? You have to say yes.
John? Yeah. So John, look for an email from Ruth. She's going to send you her cell phone. You call her and she'll put you on the speakerphone. Like I have Betty. No problem. We'll get through it. In the meantime, might as well share the screen.
What about the minutes from March, Joe?
Yeah, March
8th.
8th. So did we, I'm sorry, did we approve that?
No.
No, not yet.
So a motion to approve the March 8th minutes. Anybody make a motion?
I'd like to look through them a minute, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah, no, perfectly fine. That's absolutely fine. Let me scroll down.
Keep going.
Mhm.
Keep going.
Okay.
Okay, that looks good.
Okay,
Fine.
very good. Well, I'm glad
Thank
that
you.
worked out. You're welcome, of course.
Superlative job, by the way, by the secretary.
Yes.
Thank you, Michael. I'm glad you appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you, John.
I did minutes, I think, once or twice, and you really have to concentrate, and
Yes, you do.
it's
It's
a
hard work.
tough job.
It's hard
It's a
work.
tough job. Yeah, it is hard work. And it's like, you really want to capture the truth about, everything that happened. And it was tough, but okay.
So I'll move to accept.
Do we have John on the line?
No, because I'm still on my phone with
Oh.
you, Joe. I can't open this through this link is not working for me.
He can call me if he wants.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. What's your phone number?
He can call my home phone, 978-372.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Let me just send this. We have to have John on the line because he actually wrote a piece to the town council. So this will still be a short meeting, but we'll get it going. We're having technical difficulties here.
It's this financial guide Zoom, right? Account that we're supposed to be using?
Yeah,
Link?
financial guide. That's my own. Yes.
Yeah. I don't understand.
Yeah, he's on mute and I'm sending him a message to unmute and it's not working. So, okay, Mike, what is your number, please?
978-372-4156.
Okay. 0156?
4156.
Okay, great.
All right.
All right, very good. So Ruth, you're on now. You're on your iPhone. Okay, now you're on your computer.
I
Okay.
switched. I got it working.
Try
Yeah.
one more time.
Yes, I have it working now. on my
Okay, great.
computer.
John, if you could give Mike Dempsey a call. I just sent you the cell phone. Give him a call. We'll go from there. So I heard from two attorneys from our town council. I'm going to show you the response that we received from William Hewig.
Hey, John.
Hi, Mike.
And
I guess
William,
everyone can hear me.
that's okay. Don't worry about it. So William, actually, you could see here, he responded because I did make a request to see if we could get a response from town council in time for this meeting tonight. So here we are at 5:10 last night. Here is the email from William Hewig, the town council. So I'm going to read it to you. We can certainly view the screen together. As requested, we review the draft town administrative bylaw and have the following comments. Current bylaw sections 2-36A, section 7 and 11 should be deleted based on that authority being given to the TA, the town administrator, in the proposed new town administrative bylaw. Number 2, current bylaw section 2-93 and 2-94 should be revised to account for a town administrator handling these functions rather than the board in the event the town administrative bylaw passes. And number 3, current bylaw section 2-96 should be amended to confer adoption authority on the town administrator, not the board, as set out in the proposed new town administrative bylaw. Question, do you intend to do away with the personnel advisory board? In all other respects, the draft town administrative bylaw is acceptable as to legal form. For purposes of the ordering the town meeting vote, we recommend that the town manager votes the town meeting votes the proposed new town administrative bylaw first, and then if the article carries, B, the subsequent warrant article, town meeting votes the amendments to the current bylaw, and finally, if they both carry, C, town meeting then votes to request that the general court amend chapter 60 to the special acts of 1998, section 3.1 of the new town administrator bylaw will permit the town administrator to be the acting finance director until the general court adopts the new special act. But until that time, of course, and also until the Attorney General's office approves the new town administrator bylaw, the current version of the bylaw will remain in effect. So watch what happens next, because I had a discussion with John, who I asked him, in a pinch here at about 5:30 last night. I said, hey, John, would you be able to assist me in a response? Because we both felt that Attorney Hewig had provided us some really good advice, but he had missed a particular point. So I'm going to read John Christopher's response, and which was accepted affirmatively by Mr. Hewig subsequently, which I'm going to show you in a moment. Joseph Demore, Chairman of the Groveland Government Study Committee, has asked me to contact you regarding the above. Thank you for your review and comments, particularly with respect to General Bylaws Section 292, 293, and 296. The preferred practice is to revoke or amend any bylaw provisions which conflict with the proposed administrative bylaw. I note, and remember, this is written by John Christopher on behalf of our committee. I note that.
Excuse me, is this in writing? And we looking at this in writing? Because I don't see it.
Okay, let me share the screen. One moment, please. Go ahead. So many meetings without technical difficulties. Here we go, right here. Here we go. Joseph Demore, Chairman of the Groveland Government Study Committee, has asked me to contact you regarding the above. Again, this is written by John Christopher upon my request directly to John. Thank you for your review and comments, particularly with respect to General Bylaw Section 292, 293, 296. The preferred practice is to revoke or amend any law provisions which conflict with the proposed administrative bylaw. I note that in Section 11 of the administrative bylaw, it states that if the provisions of any other town bylaw conflict with the provisions of the administrator bylaw, then the provisions of the administrative bylaw controls. I believe that this language suffices to govern any conflicting duties until the appropriate amendments may be made. It's clear that the proposed bylaw is a work in progress. More importantly, the administrator bylaw will not be presented for enactment at the forthcoming town meeting on May 24th, 2021. I apologize. This is really important right here. I apologize if I did not make clear in Section 2 of my memorandum to Town Council that the Board of Selectmen, upon the advice of the study committee and Kevin Pecos, our interim finance director, is postponing the enactment of the administrator bylaw until the legislator has revoked General Bylaw Section 2-36A. Upon the occurrence of that future event, the administrative bylaw will then be placed on the warrant at the subsequent annual town meeting. In the interim, the Board of Selectmen, upon the advice of the committee and acting finance director Kevin Pecos, is proposing 2 warrant articles for the forthcoming town meeting. Article 4 requests authorization to petition the legislature to revoke General Bylaw 2-36A, which is the finance bylaw. We need to get rid of that before we implement a town administrative bylaw that we wrote, that you, John Osborne and John Christopher largely wrote. Article 5 requests that the Board of Selectmen be authorized pursuant to GLC 4132A to hire a town administrator. I'm going to stop right there. So we want to get rid of the finance bylaw first. We can't do it at town meeting that night. If the town meeting says, yes, go ahead and do it, well, we have to go to the legislature, and we don't know exactly how long that's going to take. So in the meantime, we still want to hire a town administrator, but we're going to use existing state law to do that. And then when we get notice from the state that we are able to, that they agree that we're going to terminate the finance bylaw, which would conflict with our town administrative bylaw, then we can hire a town administrator according to our bylaw and not rely on this particular state law. So Article 5 requests that the Board of Selectmen be authorized pursuant to GLC 32A. That is the state law to hire a town administrator. It's anticipated that his or her duties will be outlined either in the employment contract or by an amendment of the Personnel Procedures Manual. Some of the provisions of the administrator bylaw may serve as guidance. So some of the work that we've done can certainly provide guidance to the Board of Selectmen to explain the town administrator that they're going to hire under the state law. Here's what you need to do. As a matter of fact, if they rely on the appendix that John Osborne created, that would probably be enough. The position.
Can I interrupt a minute? If I can ask a question.
Sure.
The question I have is simple. Do we have to work on this document, removing reference to the
No,
financial bylaw, or do any work on it yet? Or do we do that after the town meeting?
we are on a big pause.
Okay.
Nothing to do.
When does the pause get lifted?
The pause gets lifted when we get notice from the state law. Congratulations. We've
Fine.
approved
That's
the
fine.
elimination of the finance bylaw.
Okay, fine.
Let me finish John Christopher's letter. The position of town administrator. I'm sorry, John, any other questions or?
No, that's it. That's good. That's
Okay,
fine.
thank you. That's very thoughtful. The position of town administrator would then be established, and that person could then assist in fine tuning the proposed administrator bylaw, as well as recommend amendments to any other bylaws which may be in conflict. I am attaching a copy of the town meeting warrant if you have any concerns. So that was a message from John. Now watch what happens next. Follow the bouncing ball. It's all good. Okay, let me just get to it. So I
John Christopher has something to say, Joe.
say it again. Yeah.
Joe, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Could you speak up a little bit, please?
Yeah.
Very hard to hear.
Getting feedback.
Ruth, are you able to transpose the question that John Christopher is providing?
Yeah, just section, the email had a transposition of numbers. And it should be 23A, not 32A.
Yes,
That's
okay.
the only thing I want to.
Yeah, okay, good. That's a technical, that's right. That, as a matter of fact, there was an exchange between me and Attorney Hewig. I had mistyped one of the numbers. You're correct. So here's what I did at, I think it was around 5:30 this morning. Attorney Hewig, thank you for your response. And after reviewing Mr. Christopher's response, I will make this request. Can you send us a letter approving the bylaw as to form with recommendation that when we enact it, we amend general bylaws 2-92 and 2-93 and 2-96. That's where I had a typo where I think I had 86. We can make additional appropriate amendments after we enact the TA bylaw. Section 11 of the TA bylaw resolves conflicts with other bylaws by calling for the provisions of the TA bylaw override and control. I appreciate your guidance on this matter. I also sent shortly thereafter an email directly to Mike Wood because I needed Mike's approval for me to ask town council to do anything for us, and Mike immediately responded. And I did get my response. I got an email about 90 minutes ago, and Attorney Hewitt said, basically, all is fine. I'm going to send out a letter. Do you need it now? I said, no, take the night off. We're going to have our meeting. And when we get that letter, if it's okay with the committee, whether we vote for it or we establish consent, I would like to post that letter on the website so that the townspeople will have an understanding as to how the town council is confirming the work of the Groveland, the Government Study Committee. So there you go. That's the storyline. Any questions or comments?
Joe, I think when we post the letter, I think the memorandum that I wrote to town council on short notice, I think that should be on the website,
Well,
along with the bylaw.
well,
Tell the people the history of what we've done.
yeah,
how
because
thorough.
right, because you're correct, and I hope that the committee would support that. If I put up the response from Mr. Hewig, no one's gonna know what the heck we're talking about because we don't know what the questions and yeah, exactly. Your memo should be put up. And the bottom line is this, here's the bottom line. And this is, I heard from another attorney 2 days ago, and he said, everything that this committee has done looks to me to be really well done. And I said, well, it's a collaboration with, with the Board of Selectmen, with Mr. Pecos, and, I estimated about 110 years worth of experience for the people in our Groveland Study Committee. We have 2 Board of Selectmen members. We have people that have been on boards and committees and have made some really significant changes to our town in a very positive way for decades. And I said, so thank you for the compliment. He said, however, he was going to check with Mr. Hewig to fine tune some recommendations, and those rolled in basically about 24 hours ago. So that's where we're at. So we're in good shape. We basically got a stamp of approval from the town council. That's the bottom line.
May I suggest this?
From Copeland and Page, correct?
That's 2 lawyers, yes.
May I suggest something? And I know this
Sure.
might be devastating, but I think that in order to facilitate in future the complexities of this issue,
Mhm.
I think it would be helpful if we return to a meeting format rather than this Zoom format. What do you think?
You mean physically?
Yes.
Yes.
Now that we're all more or less vaccinated, I'm sure. So what's the issue?
Joe's in Florida.
Well, I'm in Florida.
Yeah, I don't mean now. I mean in the future.
I don't have any specific objection. I never thought of it other than just objecting to being in a room with you, John. I'm just joking. That's just
I'm so
that's-
upset. I'm so upset.
Pre-COVID, post-COVID, that's never changed. But no, I'm just joking. I wouldn't object to that. I would take a survey behind the lines and get an indication.
I think John Christopher's comment that started the Zoom thing was absolutely the right thing to do at the time. But I think the situation has now changed significantly. Unless, of course, Ruth hasn't had her vaccination stuff. What's the situation with you, Ruth?
I've had one
Okay, well, that's
last
fine. then.
weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm comfortable with that. With one, I'd wear a mask. I'm fine with that.
I think we can all wear masks if you prefer, but I mean, I feel that with masks, it's not an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the Board of Selectmen's meeting this week. And it is easier to communicate in person.
Exactly.
Okay, no, that's fine with me. I mean, the next meeting will probably be post. We may have to get another one in there for a strategy session for town meeting. Because I am
Right.
waiting for guidance from the Board of Selectmen as to what our role is at town meeting. I made it very clear when I presented to them at the last meeting at the Board of Selectmen that I presented. I said, this is not John Osborne's project or Mike Dempsey's project or Joe Demore's project. This is your project. You
Stop it.
charged us with the responsibility of, formulating a pathway on how to do this. But certainly we are very enthusiastic, willing to support you. So someone hopefully in the Board of Selectmen will take the lead role in presenting our plan to the town meeting. And then I certainly will provide support if asked by the Board of Selectmen to do that. So,
Well,
yeah.
Mike won't be there.
I'm sorry?
Mike Wood won't be a selectman any longer at the town meeting.
At town meeting? I thought the elections were after the
The
town.
election's May 3rd. And the
Oh,
town,
this is a crazy year. Yeah, wow. So we're gonna, okay.
it would have been, but we moved the town meeting forward and we didn't move the election, so
Yeah.
Mike won't be there.
So I wanted to share the financial piece because I know that I'm probably going to get some challenges if I speak on behalf of the committee, if the committee provides consent that I can be the lead for our committee to speak at the town meeting. I know that I'm anticipating some challenges. One of the challenges is, quote unquote, what is this going to cost us? And so I rely on the good work of the Board of Selectmen and also Ruth in particular and the Finance Committee to help us work through those details. So take a look at this. This is really interesting because now we can now actually, the so-called financial team, because, you know, we have like a $20 million budget here in this town, and it's controlled by just a handful of people. Right now, it's a finance director, but as you can see here, you see how the line shifts. You follow the arrow. We're going to go from a finance director to a town administrator. That is the salary that's recommended by the finance board. And this is what was recommended and I believe approved by the Board of Selectmen.
It was.
We're going to have a treasurer collector, which we don't have that right now. And there's the salary, 75 versus 75. And then we're going to have an assistant treasurer collector. I had recommended 43,000. So did the finance board. And it looks like the Board of Selectmen also recommended that. And the town accountant, I had recommended, if I remember, I have to look at my notes, I think 65,000. The finance board recommended 83,000 and the Board of Selectmen recommended 88,000. What makes the numbers closer than what I had presented at the Board of Selectmen is that we had the administrative assistant also as part of the financial team, but then I believe Ruth had corrected the Board of Selectmen that the administrative assistant falls under the Board of Selectmen.
It's actually listed in our budget. All along, it's been listed under the Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen, okay.
Department.
So
I thought it didn't make sense to keep it in here and
yeah.
make this budget look inflated. So I said, well, we could.
So therefore, the variance between what the Board of Selectmen approved, which largely was based on the recommendations of the interim director, Kevin, is 1.59% more or over budget from the previous fiscal year versus 1.56.
No, Joe, that 1.56 number is the percent of the total
department budget.
So
Yes.
so the department's budget as a percent of the town's budget. So I'm saying we're spending basically 1.5% for the entire of our budget, allocating 1.5% of our budget to the entire financial team. The town administrator, the collector, and the accountant.
When I have an opportunity regarding this $120,000 budget line item for the town administrator salary, when I was engaged in the last meeting with the Board of Selectmen, Kevin had iterated a couple of times that he felt it was possible to hire the quality and depth of person that we needed for 105.
He had 105 in there.
105. So I'm going to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that they advertise the job for $113,000 or maybe 115 and settle at 115 to 117. So the 120,000 that's budgeted is probably on what I personally believe would be on the extreme high end.
If you look at all of the job postings for a town administrator, and there's even local town administrators, there was it Boxford that just opened? Or, and they advertised between, I think, 127 to 155, something like that.
Yeah.
The local comps were substantial. And our finance director was at 120,
120, right,
who was not a town administrator.
yeah. So I think there's some wiggle room there because this is the highest price tag on the board here, other than the town administrator, the accountant. So therefore, this team is made up of a treasurer collector, an assistant treasurer collector, and we will cancel treasurer collector clerk. Then we're going to hire a full-time accountant.
We have a full-time, currently we have a 30-hour-a-week accountant.
Okay?
And that accountant, along with the interim finance director, believes that the loss of the finance director into the town administrator will create more work for the town accountant. So they wanted to make the town accountant's hours go from 30 hours to 37.5 hours.
Okay,
So that's what that change in comp is. The difference between the finance board's recommendation and the Board of Selectmen's recommendation is a wage adjustment. And well, I don't know if it matters to you what the accountant did their own wage survey, and I didn't want to recommend a wage increase based on an employee's wage survey. I thought it should be more neutral than that. So we gave the extra hours at a 2% cost of living adjustment, which is what we did for the rest of the town's employees, a 2% cost of living.
Ruth, are you
Yeah,
going to play a role at the town meeting to discuss the budget, and then when we get to this so-called financial team?
I mean, I'll be there.
Okay, to
I'll
support
be there if
our
there's
committee.
questions for me or if there's something they want me to do.
Joe,
Yes,
So-
sir.
question, this 120 versus 117 or 113, whatever you decide on.
Mhm.
It seems to me, based on what Ruth has said, that figure seems a bit low. If in fact the current situation has people running between 127 and 155, is that?
No,
a
that
fair
was
statement?
That's
a-
Boxford.
Boxford.
that
Sorry,
was another.
Betty, what?
I said, wasn't that Boxford's numbers?
I think so.
That was
I-
Boxford numbers?
I think so. I
Yeah.
looked at some
Yeah,
recent
good
job postings. I think it was.
Ed Watson mentioned that.
Yeah, Ed Watson. But Kevin Pecos says Kevin Pecos thinks a lot of our wages in town are comparably low, but he suggested the 105 for the town administrator. So I think 120 is a good number.
Joe, can I interrupt?
Yeah, John, you're on. We can hear you.
Yeah, I just switched over to my computer.
Okay,
When
good.
we spoke to that gentleman from another community nearby, who was the town administrator there, he thought 110, 115 was a fairly good ballpark for a town like Groveland.
And that's really significant for two reasons, John, because number one, not only those are the numbers that he gave us. Number two, we spent most of our conversation with him talking about the tightness of the job market and how difficult it was to find people and so forth and so on. And then he said, but you should be okay with getting someone within those numbers. So
There
that,
will be somebody with 3 to 5 years experience, a younger person, perhaps.
exactly. Well, so think about that for just a moment. I mean, it's also, so if you're weak in the financial department, then you have a stronger town administrator or vice versa. But if we're gonna have a full-time accountant and a treasurer collector with an assistant, we have a pretty robust team, a
Right.
bench. So we don't need to hire a 40-year veteran to run our town, conceptually speaking. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
so what number are we
I'm
going
gonna
to?
nominate Betty Gorski to take the job.
Thank you.
What number are we going to run with?
I think we're
120
gonna have to add
or
on to town hall with this team.
question?
Go
What
ahead.
number are we running with? 120 or 115?
Well, 120 is what's been approved.
Well,
So,
it's been recommended, town meeting needs to approve it
Right.
in the.
But
on the-
what do we recommend? That's the important issue.
I think we recommended at the selectmen's meeting when Joe and I zoomed in, it was
Yes?
20.
You've
Yeah,
gone away. You started and then what? You stopped.
he froze up.
He froze.
20, the number is one, we recommended 120.
Okay. So you're gonna stay with that?
in that, you were,
Well, what,
Hello?
What's Ruth's opinion on that since she's the
yeah,
finance?
Ruth, can you give us your opinion? Ruth, your opinion, whether you represent the finance committee or not. Ruth thinks blank about that 120. Yes, no?
Well, I didn't hear until now that you had feedback about 110. So, Joe earlier said 113, maybe land at 117, but we have budgeted up to 120. And if that's what it takes for, I guess it depends on the qualifications. We can put in a range. Can't we put in a range and then say, depending on experience and qualifications?
Well, Betty and I have
Absolutely.
been in the driver's seat of hiring people. So there is an art and a science to it. So we know that we can spend 120, and unfortunately, because everything is public, whoever's going to apply for the job knows that they can get up to a 120. But we're going to lowball it when we advertise it. It's just the way of how to hire people. I'm going to say, look, we're going to post 113, 115. And if this person comes in with all kinds of bells and whistles, then, well, what the heck? We can go all the way to 120. I mean, that's how it's done.
well, I think,
20, but I don't want to spend 120 unless I
Joe,
have to.
Joe, I think we also should consider that some of the candidates will be people who are maybe like assistant town managers in a bigger town, and that they're looking to prove
Right.
they can ride in the stirrups of the primary leader. So you might have some people that will accept a job for 110,000 or something like that. Because they want to put it on their resume that they've been a town administrator and not an assistant, so.
Right.
Yeah, they might not hang out with us for 30 years. That's the downside to it. You're gonna have a higher turnover, but that's okay. If we can afford it and we have a good system and a good, good controls in place, we can deal with a little bit of turnover. That's
The
okay.
other thing is a lot of the advertisements have, almost all of them for a town administrator have car allowances and stuff like that. So, we'd have enough money to satisfy some of maybe those
Yeah.
add-ons too.
Okay, so the figure, the spreadsheet that we see, is that
Yeah.
the one that is going before the town?
I'm projecting it now.
Understand?
That's a
So-
question for Ruth.
Oh, I mean, that's all factual information. If that's the way that you want
I
it
think it-
presented.
Hang on, Ruth. I think we should revise the financial, the first two lines or whatever, certainly the second line should drop down to 110 as John Christopher has suggested, so that with understood, so that when people see it, with an understanding that there could be an increase over that figure, but it seems to me that we should be as close to truth as we can get. Or
Well,
does that
let
have
me-
sin?
Well,
does
let
that
me
have
interject.
sin-
The 120 is absolute truth because that is absolutely recommended by the finance by vote. And the 120 is absolutely recommended by the BOS by vote. So those
Oh,
are,
okay, all right. So that, you're gonna run with that.
And
Yeah.
it's what was budgeted this
Okay,
year too. So it's not a
Yeah.
change.
oh,
The
okay.
change is in the staff underneath, the support staff.
No, I understand. I just wanted to clarify what we were actually delivering. Okay,
yeah,
fine.
good point, John. Thank you for bringing that out. Yeah. But like I said, Betty and I have been in the driver's seat, hiring,
Right, I got the point.
fire chief and hiring,
Right,
some
we hired Denise.
Denise. And so
and,
Right.
there's a
So
little,
will there be a search committee?
say it again?
Will there be a search committee? Ideally?
I would hope so. And I'd be
Right.
happy to be a part of that, actually. That's a good, I didn't think about, but I would think, I've been on 2 search committees on the school committee.
I think well, our bylaw calls for a search committee, but it's not going to be in effect, but it's a good idea. So,
It's a great idea, yeah, absolutely. Good.
So can I just ask one more question? So there's been aside from the budget, there's been no formal vote on behalf of the finance board on this matter. Do you want one? And I guess I just wasn't sure exactly what we would be voting to support. We will vote to put forth those articles in the town meeting warrant. So does that satisfy the finance board's support? Or do you want a statement, anything else? I'm also putting it in my letter to town meeting that there's reasons for it. So if you think that's enough support, that's fine with me.
Well, I think
Usually
you-
they ask for
Hold on. Say it again,
favorable or
Beth.
unfavorable for the finance committee.
Betty, can you start that statement again, please? Ask that question again.
When we go to town meeting, favorable or unfavorable on an article, and then we go around the table, selectmen weigh in, finance committee weighs in.
Yeah,
So isn't that a place to do that?
that would be a place to discuss it. I just wanted to make sure that the formal vote will just be on those 2 articles. And if that's,
Yeah, my feeling is this, Ruth, I would love to have somewhere in your recommendation an endorsement of the work that the Groveland Study Committee has done. But I don't want to put the focus on our committee. The focus has to be on the Board of Selectmen. We're all here to support their vision and their aspiration to implement the town administrator. So anything
okay.
to help them get this idea over the goal line at the town meeting is more important than saying, we love the work that Joe and John and Andrew and Mike Dempsey did and Betty did. So that's
Okay.
my feeling. So
can I make a comment, Joe?
please.
If I were going to try to sell this position to a jury, I would hire an expert witness, and we have one sitting at town hall right now in Kevin Pecos. And we may want to think about asking Kevin to give his views and 44 years experience as to, whether he's already said he didn't think the town needed a full-time finance director, and why he thinks we should have a town administrator. He may not be willing to do it, but it may be worthwhile to approach him and ask him that.
So
And it's coming as-
so in other words, instead of a Board of Selectmen member taking the lead to promote it? or-
No. Kevin can just chime in after the selectmen give their 2 cents. He's just an
Sure.
extra. And, it does have some gravitas in the sense that Kevin is advocating for establishment of a position that will eventually terminate his contract with the town. So if he's willing to do that, there's a lot of credibility there.
That's a great idea. Would you pen an email to him directly and ask?
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that.
And copy me and I'll share it with the committee.
Okay.
Mike Dempsey, how are you doing tonight? Other than busily taking notes, thank you. Oh, you're on mute, Mike.
I hung up the phone on John because it was all feeding back.
Yeah,
But since he's through his computer now, it's not a problem.
thank you. Any other comments or questions or concerns? What I'll do is when I receive the written response from Attorney Hewig, the town council, I'll share with everyone on this call, the committee, and also Ruth. Ruth, you can, and certainly Mike Wood, you can disseminate it to the finance committee. And, Ruth, I wanted to thank you also. You've been a great supporter of us.
Oh, please.
Of this
This has been the
committee.
easiest group to work with of all time.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, at least 2021. Let's just say
Yeah.
that.
Take 1 year. This is a business we take 1 year at a time. God knows that. And, but thank you. Again, I recommend, I'm going to ask the board's consent. Would the board allow me to represent our committee at town meeting?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay,
That's right.
okay, thank you.
I learned one thing about town meeting, Joe, when I first moved here.
Yeah.
Dick Abbott warned me, he said, at town meeting, the less you say, the better off you are. So you can take the lead on that one.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I always have something to say. All right, I'll go ahead and do that. I'll represent us faithfully. And thank you for that. Thank you for your support. So it's an exciting project. It's, 1850, the town was incorporated, and then I don't know when the current Board of Selectmen format with the 3-member board and all the committees, all that came together in the last 50 to 70 years. And this is a huge historic change to our town. 100 years from now, people look back and say, wow, this was another iteration of the government after the 5-member board. So thank you for being part of it. It's huge. I mean, for a little town, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. And Ruth just showed us how we can pay for the darn thing. Not going bankrupt. Thank God for that. So, any other questions or comments? If there is a need for an additional meeting before town meeting, I'll ask for your consent to participate on a predetermined date. And other than that, we'll probably see each other at town meeting and then a formal meeting afterwards.
Unzoomed, I might add.
Yes, zoomed. No,
Unzoomed.
yes, exactly. Unzoomed. Yeah, back to normal in the
Right.
flesh. In the
In the flesh.
Good point, John. That's a really good point. It is amazing how much productivity we can pursue this way, but it is easier live. It really is. We got
Yeah.
papers in front of us and we can take notes and not have to.
Difficult is when it's a combination of both, when we're at town hall and then we had people zoomed in, that's when there's feedback there. Our meeting on Monday night was really hard. The 2 remote members of the finance board couldn't hear. I feel like it works better if it's all one way or another way, but I don't know, the whole wide world is working remotely. So
Yeah. And I am convinced, and we've had this conversation in my company, the financial company I work with, we feel that the Zoom it's not going to be Zoom. Someone's going to come over and do something better than Zoom, and we're going to call it something else in 18 months probably, but the virtual meeting will not go away post-COVID.
I think it's going to happen in the court system. Zooms
Really?
on preliminary matters, and most of the attorneys favor it.
Yeah.
So
And you know what, from a business standpoint, and who the heck wants to, who wants to pay rent and lease buildings when they figured out that people can be providing top quality service in their pajamas at home?
That very high quality comment, I'm
Yeah.
going to say goodbye.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
John,
John.
just make sure if you do have a live meeting, don't show up with your pajamas, please. I really,
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
all right.
Goodbye.
All right,
okay,
have a good night. All right, good night, everybody. Thank you very much for your time.
okay. Good
Appreciate it.
night.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Enjoy Florida.
Thank you, I will. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.